Brandon Staley, coach of the Chargers, he's about to get fired. Start the countdown. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So the Chargers, we remember how their season ended last year, right? Up 4 touchdowns, still lost to the Jaguars.
Well, 24 points, 3 and a field goal.
This year, 0-2, they were up in the fourth quarter. Both games. Still managed to lose. Justin Herbert has been throwing for like 1 billion yards. And they still managed to lose. Now, 0-2 is a magical number. 0-2 to 0-3 are 2 magical numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And this is from this is a stat that's been going around, but I want to make sure I credit Bill Barnwell for it from ESPN because he's the one that brought it up in this context. Since 2002, 21 years, roughly 1 in 10 teams that starts 0-2 make it to the postseason, which I think is kind of a high number. Only, roughly 10%, 1 in 10. You start 0-2, your chances of making it to the playoffs drop to about 10%. When the Bengals did it last season, they were the first team to do it since 2018.
Yeah, it's been a few years, but it's
been a while. Right?
I think was it Houston?
Well, Houston. I'm glad you brought up Houston because when you drop to 0-3,
they were 0-3 in 18.
When you drop to 0-3, things get hella hyphy. Desperate becomes hopeless. Since 2002, 99 teams have started 0-3, and just one team, the aforementioned 2018 Texans, have made it to the playoffs. 1 in 99. Now, the NFL is now a 14-team bracket, which means that the 2013 Steelers would have made it, but you get the point. It's almost impossible. It rarely never happens. Starting 0-2 is digging yourself into a hole. Starting 0-3 is you're 10 feet under quicksand. The Chargers are 0-2. And to make things even more sexy, do you know who they're playing on Sunday off the top of your head?
The Minnesota Vikings.
The 0-2 Minnesota Vikings. This is essentially like
talking about throwing for 1 million yards and still losing. If you're Cousins,
this is a loser leaves town match on Sunday, legit. Right? A legit loser leaves town match. If you don't,
like a hair versus hair match. Someone's getting peeled off.
You're not, and you don't win anything. All you do is survive. But if you lose, your season's over. Your season's over if you lose this Sunday. Vikings and Chargers. Now, we've been talking about it all the time. The Chargers team is loaded with Pro Bowlers. I think it's a top 5 talent roster. You've got a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. You've got one of the best undrafted running backs in the history of the NFL. You got Pro Bowl wide receivers. You got Pro Bowlers at every level of the defense. Playmakers all over the place. And yet Brandon Staley, the defensive guru, the defensive mastermind. Thank you, CBS, for letting me steal this graphic. Points per game allowed, 31.5, 30th. Total yards per game allowed, 438, dead last. Third down percentage, 45.5, almost 50%. That's 24th. This Chargers defense, despite being loaded to the tits, is arguably worse than the Raiders.
They're playing worse than we are.
They're certainly playing worse, despite being overly jacked with talent and having a defensive mastermind, Brandon Staley, as their head coach. This is the most underperforming roster this season and last season. And they're losing in the most, damn it, the coach screwed up most ways.
It's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, if the Chargers lose again, they're the Chargers and they're going to suck and whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I don't know that Brandon Staley survives if he loses again. I think it's 0-3 and he's done. Because, look, if you're the Chargers, you're thinking to yourself, we're not going to be able to win with this guy. So might as well get him out of here as fast as we can because we still have 14 games left to turn it around.
That's why I said at the start of this segment, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Yeah. Even if they lose on Sunday.
And then we fuck them up to make them 0-4. Oh!
What have I said has been Brandon Staley's lifeline? He's a media darling. Media love him.
Not anymore, man.
Not anymore. But for the longest time, the media loved him. And I was like, great. That's going to be the one thing.
Jacksonville loss. It turned everyone against him.
That's what's going to keep everyone kind of like keeping him around, is you're not going to hear the media calling for him to be out of there. Right. And it's new media, right? They were in San Diego. Now they're in LA, where no one cares about them. They're still an NFL team in a major market. So they're getting coverage, but it's different. It's different when you've been a beat writer in Philly for 30 years and you have a bone to pick with the coach. Like, it's very different. Like, he's been handled with kid gloves, one, because of the market situation that he's in, two, because he's a media darling. He says all the things the media wants to hear. When John Gruden got canned, he was right there to like clutch his pearls. There's no place for this in National Football League. I am appalled and appalled and blah, blah, blah. He's one of those guys, right? That'll just give you that holier than thou soundbite that the media loves. And two, he's a big like metrics guy, which the media loves as well. So he was going to get all this benefit of the doubt from the media. After this game on Sunday, it's over. This was his last question and answer on his post-game presser. I know, Soda, you haven't seen it yet. So
I heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
Buckle up. He was asked a very fair question. That, do you think the hangover from how, soul-crushing that Jacksonville loss was in the playoffs last year carried over it all into this year? Because we're seeing kind of a repeat. It's back-to-back blown fourth-quarter leads, and one of the most talented teams in football can't buy a win. I thought it was a very fair question. Brandon Staley did not.
I'm not worried about the Jacksonville loss. The Jacksonville loss hasn't carried on to the season whatsoever. If you've seen our training camp or you've seen the way we've played in the first two games, it hasn't had an impact on our team whatsoever. Our team is connected. Our team has played its heart out in two games, and we've lost two tough games. But it has nothing to do with the Jacksonville game. And if you ask anyone in our locker room, it has nothing to do with the Jacksonville game. And that's just the truth. It's a convenient storyline for you and for everybody else, but it's not the truth. We've lost two tough games, but the guys in that locker room, the men in that locker room, they are finishers and they have what it takes, and we're excited to prove ourselves. Yeah, we just lost a game in overtime, Jeff. So how do you think the mood is? How do you think the mood is?
How do you think the mood is, Jeff? What do you think the mood is, Jeff?
You fucking jerk.
What a dickhead. Asking a very pertinent question. In a lot of ways, that was kind of a lifeline. It's like, all right, do you think that, maybe you guys just haven't recovered from that, soul-crushing loss last season? No, Jeff, it's because I suck as a head coach. That's why we're 0-2. That would have been the best answer. That would have saved Brandon Staley a little bit and be like, look, guys, you guys are all there. That was so rough. These guys can overcome it, but we're still kind of feeling it. Instead of okay, then what's the answer, Brandon Staley? Why can't a team loaded with Pro Bowlers not buy a win early in this season?
Jeff fucked up. He fucking pissed off Brandon Staley. If I was Jeff, I would have tried to lighten the mood. I would have been like, Brandon Staley, knock knock.
Who's there?
Owen.
Owen who?
0-2. That's what I would have tried to lighten the mood.
You would have been back there with a fake beard, the glasses, nose, mustache thing on, with a press hat, being like, hey, yo, it's Johnny Soto from the Los Angeles Times. I have a question. From
the Herald Examiner.
Rip it off. You just got a Raiders suit on. 0-2, bitch. Point being, Brandon Staley's one little lifeline, his one little ace up his sleeve, was he had the media kissing his ass. Now that's gone. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.